This is NDTV. And you're watching NDTV Hindu.
Hello and welcome to Corridors of Power. I'm Sanjay Pinto. Not long ago, Chennai used to be the biggest transit points for heroin smuggling, but today it seems that the situation has changed drastically. And my guest today is one of the finest police officers of the Tamil Nadu cadre, now on deputation, Mr. Davidson Devasirvadam. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Mr. Davidson, of course, is the Zonal Director of the Narcotics Control Bureau based out of Chennai here. How has the scene changed? I mean, at one time we used to get about, I remember, one of your predecessors managed a 50 kg haul of heroin in just one catch, and then on an average about 200 kgs a year. Has the scene changed now?
Yes, Sanjay, it has reduced quite a lot to a very large extent, because you can say roughly about it has reduced to something like 10 kgs that we see on an average every year now. One reason could possibly be attributed towards the activities that NCB has undertaken in terms of destroying the illicit poppy crops, and also the tightening of the licensed areas of the poppy cultivation, especially in the central India, by the Central Bureau of Narcotics. These are some of the reasons, and all the other tight measures have certainly, to a very large extent, reduced the illicit trafficking of heroin to Sri Lanka.
So largely enforcement because of the tight controls. Right, yeah. I remember a couple of years ago, not a couple of years ago, perhaps a little earlier, seeing poppy being cultivated off the highway in Bangalore. I remember doing a quick story and then making a quick getaway before somebody could actually catch us. Yeah, there have been some incidents of a few acres of lands in which poppy has been tried and experimented, but it was all basically for some basically for these poppy seeds. In some places they have tried that, and now we have no incidents of any poppy being cultivated in Karnataka or anywhere in the south. But illicit poppy cultivation in some parts of the India, some lot of stringent actions have been taken, and good amount of illicit poppy destructions have also been carried out by NCB, CBN and other agencies in the recent past. What is the most predictable route? Good old days, it used to be from Mandsaur, it would find its way either by road or by train or by air, and to Chennai, and then Chennai to Colombo or Negombo. That used to be almost a predictable trajectory. Has that seen
Yeah, that's change? Almost the same. As far as the route to Sri Lanka is concerned, is almost the same, because the Sri Lankan route is, if it is taken on the sea route, that's the same route that you are talking about. But now we have also the couriers which are being largely used, and also we have the incidents of the air routes. So that continues to be the same. But sometimes we also have some heroin coming in from Delhi and all that, which comes in parcels by carriers. They bring it here, and from there it goes to Sri Lanka. That's it continues to be the same.
But the modus operandi has also changed, because usually they conceal it in the fake bottoms of suitcases and shoes and all that.
That's continues the same. But they are more innovative now. They come with more and more new techniques, more and more concealment techniques and all that. But the traditional methods are always there actually.
See, a lot of your colleagues know you as an officer with a heart. You have studied, in fact, the behavioral patterns of criminals right through your policing career. Tell us something about the psyche of the mind of a courier of a narcotic substance, because in many cases they swallow these capsules of heroin, and if that actually bursts in their stomach, that could be fatal. Exactly. And they do it for, I am told, as little as 15,000 rupees. Yes. What forces them to take this risk? Because invariably they get caught.
It's because of the money, because they're in a network of smugglers. They work for them. So they need somebody who can just help them out to carry the stuff from one place to another place. And they need agents to do that.
Okay.
So these carriers are sometimes lured for about few thousands, or sometimes somebody can even charge them for about 1 lakh or something to carry the stuff from one place to another place, because this has to go from point of production to point of demand. For example, if it has to go from here to Sri Lanka, they need somebody to carry it, and no operator will take the risk of carrying it. He knows that if he is caught, his business is at stake, his contraband also goes. Whereas if somebody else is caught, he can always fight the case for him, and he can also kind of do the trade again and again.
Do your boys actually dread catching such criminals? Because I mean, when they swallow that and then the process of extraction and recovery of that heroin.
No, we have not had any, because we have had quite a good number of cases in which we have picked up people who have swallowed the drugs in capsules.
Okay.
We have kept them in the hospitals and we have recovered almost most of the capsules.
Okay.
So we don't have actually, it's a very, very cumbersome exercise, sometimes very irritating and painful because you'll have to be in the hospital.
Physically be there.
Be there and just go through the very nasty exercise of seeing the patient through, of excreting all the capsules.
But heroin apart, now you're telling me that is Chennai slowly emerging as a major transit point for ephedrine and for other narcotic substances like perhaps even ketamine. Ketamine, which I'm told is a veterinary anesthetic.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. See, ephedrine trafficking from Chennai has increased, no doubt, and similarly ketamine.
Ephedrine is actually
it's a precursor chemical. It's a chemical used for manufacturing.
Was it also used to cure asthma at one point?
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
okay.
It's used as a kind of a raw material for manufacturing asthma tablets and all that. The congestants and all that. But whereas with ketamine was the one which was in vogue till about even now, but that has been brought under the purview of NDPS Act only from February of this year.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, till then it was not covered under the NDPS Act, it was only covered under the Customs Act.
Okay.
So now it has been covered under the NDPS Act, so we have been making good number of seizures of ketamine. At the same time, ketamine and ephedrine, they have a huge demand in Far East and Southeast Asia.
Particularly Malaysia and all that.
Exactly, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Australia.
That is a date rape drug, is it? Ketamine?
Ketamine, yes, it is, yeah. That's
okay.
Right, yeah.
Recently, you had the Kelly Baker case where in a star hotel there was a person whose drink was spiked.
Exactly, yeah.
You're seeing a lot of that.
Exactly.
What, I mean, for a lay person, an ordinary viewer watching this program, what really contributes to this sudden jump in the price of street heroin from Chennai, where about heroin costs about 1 lakh per kg.
Yes, that's right.
And it goes to Sri Lanka, it becomes 1 crore in the international market. What contributes to this jump?
Because there's a lot of layers of people who are involved in the entire operation. Like for example, somebody who pays about, now if you say that if you get about, you pay for about 5 lakhs to get an illegal heroin per kg, you need to transport it, you need to pay for the carrier, and after and about that, he has to add his profit. Then it's kind of, when it's sold in the streets in terms of grams, then its value increases.
The purity also matters, because I'm told there are some cases it goes up to 69.2% as opposed to the usual thing of 61.2%.
Now the percentage of purity of heroin is reduced to a very large extent because there's a lot of adulteration going on. Because they add a lot of cutting agents, they add a lot of other chemicals, wheat flours, and so many other things are added. Powdered tablets are added into this kind of opium, and when it is being converted into heroin.
So adulteration there
Adulteration is increased, so because of the purity of heroin percentage is reduced to a large extent.
What are some of the challenges that you face in the NCB? I'm told that, for instance, ephedrine, unlike heroin, which is a non-bailable offence under the NDPS Act, that ephedrine is not, and which is why probably the risk factor is limited when it comes to ephedrine.
That's right, because ephedrine is a very genuine chemical which is used for a lot of other industrial products and also for a lot of pharmaceutical preparations. So it cannot be completely brought under the purview of banning it or controlling it totally. So we have brought it as a precursor chemical which is covered under the Regulation of Controlled Substances Order of 1993. But anybody who is violating in terms of dealing with either manufacturing or storing it or transporting it or selling it against the provisions of law as per the RCS order, then he is tantamount to be punished under the NDPS Act.
Do you think that they should bring this also under NDPS Act?
Not necessarily, but it is more or less sufficient right now. If you see more and more some kind of illegal abuse or something taking place in the country, then probably we'll have to take a call on that.
People say that the NDPS Act is very stringent.
Yes.
But again, if it comes to bail, it's almost impossible to get bail. But if you compare it with neighboring Sri Lanka, for instance, where the Drug Control Board, I'm told, they have a death penalty for drug peddling. Do you think our laws are not that stringent?
No, our laws are quite stringent. Even under the NDPS Act, we also have death penalty as one of the punishment. So it's still available. But the thing is that we have had some couple of recent judgments which have certainly kind of looks as if the act looks diluted because of this purity percentage of the drug that is found in the contraband. So that has affected some of the bail procedures and also in terms of the sentencing and the punishment that is going to them actually. But by and large our act is pretty good, it's very strong, it's quite a good act actually.
Okay, now you find a lot of youngsters getting, I can see this, of course 26 June, you opened Saina Nehwal as a brand ambassador.
That's right.
I think Surya also, I saw a picture of Surya also outside your office. Even recently, a very disturbing trend of youngsters taking to crime, sometimes even leading to murders, like an engineering college in the outskirts of Chennai. Apparently those youngsters were addicted to this whitener.
Yeah, that's right.
And also certain cough syrups and all that. How does NCB come into play there? I mean, although technically that would be under the state NIB-CID?
See, there are two components of drug law enforcement. One is the demand reduction, other is the supply reduction. Our focus is largely on the supply reduction. We look after the drug traffickers, the trafficking routes, the modus operandi.
Like the choking of drugs before the Commonwealth
Exactly,
Games.
yeah. Just like, we probably try to prevent the entry of drugs or prevent the transit of drugs to different destinations. But what really matters as far as when it comes to the college and students is about the demand reduction. You try to reduce the demand for drugs in colleges and schools.
And you started this, I think, anti-narcotic cells in colleges and schools.
We have taken
clubs.
some initiative of starting this anti-narcotics clubs in colleges. In fact, we have written to all the universities, or all the vice chancellors, principals. So there has been some response from some of the places. Madras Medical College has started a club.
What do they do exactly?
They basically get some membership from the students, then try to propagate awareness on drug abuse and how they can help the students who are into drugs or reach out to a community where there's a drug abuse problem. So these are some of the things that we have kind of tried to spread it to the college, because we can't actually involve ourselves in such a work. So we thought it's better to co-opt the colleges and take the help and reach, spread this message across. That will probably certainly work if everybody takes a lot of interest to do that in every college.
And not just a 26 June kind of
Exactly.
initiative.
It's just going to be an annual affair that you do it on 26th of June and you're not bothered about that. But if it's happening throughout the year, like every college has got some club, have this also as a club, and then with that you just push out, then it will probably be very good actually.
Again, you roped in brand ambassadors also.
Yeah.
When it comes to really, enlisting the support of the youth, what has been your experience so far? One is, of course, these clubs.
Yeah.
In terms of the informants,
Yes.
although you're not in a position to divulge more on that, a lot of your intelligence gathering, we are told, is through youngsters. The tip-offs that you get,
Yes.
rave parties, for
Yeah.
instance.
So a lot of people, because a lot of families get affected because of these drugs, because it's not one individual who gets affected, the whole family gets affected. Very many times the parents cannot open out and tell the others that my child is a drug addict. So they need the support of officers like us, and call us and tell them, this is happening, so-and-so is selling drugs in my streets. So we try to focus on these particular places, and then by the time, our job is mainly to focus on the key fellows, important persons who are doing it. So there are so many small fellows indulging in street peddling and all that. For example, for example, cocaine today. Cocaine was not available anywhere in Chennai maybe about nearly 5 years back. But today cocaine is easily available. Like, you can find a lot of people from a lot of high society, people from very affluent backgrounds.
What is the rate of cocaine as opposed to heroin?
Cocaine goes for about nearly 3,000 rupees per gram on the streets of Chennai.
Oh.
They sell it for about, and depending on demand.
That's at rave parties and all consumed,
Yeah,
is it?
that's where most of the rave parties, clubs, nightclubs, bars, pubs and all that. A lot of this cocaine, people who have abused cocaine, visit such places. It's becoming kind of quite...
And you've kept a tab on all these places?
Yes, we are keeping a watch over all these places, yes. Yeah.
Okay. There are also reports that suggest that brown sugar is again hitting the streets of Chennai. Is this true, or is it just adulterated heroin?
No, it is adulterated heroin. Brown sugar is nothing but adulterated heroin. It has always been there. But the kind of presence that it had in the past is not there much, because the most common drug that is easily available on the streets is the cannabis derivatives, but not much to do with either cocaine or heroin. It's not in such a very big way actually.
I'm just saying this board here with the modus operandi. Does this continue to be the same? If you can explain to us some of the...
This is some of the concealment methods by which drugs are concealed inside. For example,
for instance, here, this is this haldi powder.
Yeah, so
how do you actually know? Is it only a tip-off that...
It's basically a tip-off, because we say that if a so-and-so passenger is carrying drugs, then we check the baggage.
Okay.
So usually they'll try to cover it or conceal it with some other food products or some other electronic goods, something which they can easily carry across in the airports. So we need to open everything and check everything, whatever he carries. Probably, to the extent that we tear the entire suitcase to find out if there is anything concealed inside. So it's all based on tip-offs. We have been able to actually direct most of them actually.
Again, I think vehicles.
Yeah, these are vehicles, because these are all vehicles which come loaded with drugs, maybe come from Central India or exchange in between.
Mainly from Mandsaur and all
that.
Yes,
yes, most of them are from Central India.
You see a lot of seized vehicles outside. These are all the seized vehicles.
They have been what have been seized in the last 10 years or so.
Okay. There's no way of disposing them off for...
We have disposed some of the vehicles. We're taking some more steps to it is a legal process. So we apply to the courts for getting them disposed actually. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll slide into a short break on Corridors of Power. When we return, we'll talk about Davidson as an officer, about his stints in other forms of policing. Stay tuned.